Greetings. Well, clearly a few days away from YouTube and video making hasn't changed Mr. Rogers' ability to narrate badly or make shit up on a whim. His meteoric comeback involved his reading out a report from ESA NASA which appeared back in February. I'll link the actual report in the text box below. But in the meantime, let's have a listen and be astounded at the miasma of mispronunciation and the flagrant fabrication of facts.
A recent discovery based on observations by ESA NASA Solar Observatory, SOHO.
Obviously, he can't pronounce the word heliospheric as he missed it out. Oh dear.
We were not aware of it until we dusted off the observations made over 2 decades ago by the SOHO spacecraft. Now, that part of the article explains again, we were not aware of it until we dusted off the observations made over 2 decades ago. Now, how on earth could that happen? The technology we've got now for 2019, and they are stating that they're dusting off equipment, their observations, tracking this.
Dusted off observations means they looked at data gathered in the past and applied new scientific technology and knowledge in order to study what the data showed. Stop trying to make it out to be some conspiracy that it's not.
These observations could be done only at certain times of the year, when the Earth is in the geocorona came into view for SWAN. So again, the instruments and the technology, and all of a sudden now they're starting to pick up this information.
And your point is what? Is every time someone makes a scientific discovery a conspiracy or a cover-up? Don't be ridiculous.
For planets with hydrogen and their atmospheres, water vapour is often seen closer to their surface. That is the case for Earth.
And Mars and Venus. Why do you suppose he missed this bit out?
This is especially interesting when looking at planets like Mars and Venus with potential reservoirs of water beyond our solar system.
That is not what it says. It says it's especially interesting when looking for planets. It doesn't say looking at planets like Mars and Venus. Oh, and that word is reservoir, and you pronounce that gentleman's name, Jean-Louis Berthoud.
The first telescope on the moon, placed by the Apollo 16 astronauts in 1972, captured a ecoactive image of the geocorona.
Ecoactive? The word is evocative. Look it up in the dictionary.
Lyman alpha, which the atoms can both observe and emit. Since this type of light is observed by the Earth's atmosphere, it can only be observed from space.
The atoms absorb, not observe, and this type of light is absorbed, not observed.
Thanks to the hydrogen observation cell.
The what? The word is absorption.
With a just of 70 atoms per cubic meter at 60,000 kilometers above Earth's surface, and about 2.0 atoms at the moon's distance.
Your figures are a tad out there, Matt. It's per cubic centimetre, not metre, and 0.2 atoms, not 2.0 atoms.
But the impact of astronauts in the lunar orbit would be negligible.
It's pronounced negligible.
It states here as well, launched in December 1995, the SOHO Space Observatory had been studying the Sun from its deep core to the outer corona of the solar wind for over 2 decades. The satellite orbits just around the first language point.
It's the outer corona and the solar wind, not of the solar wind. And it's Lagrange point, not the language point. You needing glasses, Matt?
SOHO's SWAN instrument imaged Earth and its extended atmosphere on these occasions between 1996 and 1998.
3 occasions. It was 3 occasions.
This reporter as well, Jean-Luc from NASA, explains as well, a research team in Russia decided to check this data out, set from the archives from further analysis. These unique views of the whole geocorona as seen from the SOHO are now shedding new light on Earth's atmosphere.
Jean-Loup isn't a reporter, he's a researcher that used to work on SWAN. And it was a research team in Russia, not whatever words you just said. Oh, and the data is shedding new light, not shredding it.
Going back to this report as well, when you look at this and read through the lines,
Mr. Rogers cannot even read the lines, never mind read through them.
again, this is stating of being new information, but again, they look back at it of saying that it was looked at 20 years ago. They've been observing this all the time. They're now stating that our atmosphere is hitting past the area where we see view side to the moon.
He simply isn't getting that this is about reanalysing data and finding new information. Everything has to be a bloody conspiracy.
Now, many years ago, about 30 years ago, this wasn't happening. So what is causing our Earth atmosphere to do this? Why is it being pulled out towards the regions of space?
This is a photograph taken by the Apollo 16 astronauts in 1972. It shows the geocorona. It clearly was happening 30 years ago. Nothing is pulling out the atmosphere, Matt. It's likely to always have been this way, and neither you nor any other nibtard has any research to prove otherwise.
Can you see this, where they've placed our atmosphere towards this arcing? Why is this happening? Before, our atmosphere was just showing as a neat area above the area of view sight of the Earth, but now this is happening, and like they've described as well on the article, the moon is now in our atmosphere. Now what is going on? Because they never explained this before. So again, something else is being said through the important information. Again, if you read between the lines, you will pick up the truth.
A neat area? You mean prior to new discovery it was illustrated as being smaller than it actually is? That's the point of research, Matt, the discovery of new things. It used to be thought that the plague was caused by movement of the planets, but research and discovery changed that theory. You say the moon in our atmosphere never happened before. You have scientific data to prove that? Do you, hell? Everything has to be an establishment cover-up to these numbskulls. Whilst the sane members of the human race marvel at and encourage new discoveries and ideas, the lame-brained of the populace simply retreat into their shells of ignorance, desperate for apocalypse, wretched in their warping of facts. Hashtag get an education. On a completely different note, no vids for a couple of weeks as I'm off to Cairo to immerse myself in history and culture. But I'm pretty sure nothing in Nibtard land will have changed in my absence. See ya.